Hey there folks, I know a lot of you have been waiting for these Sony's new WH-1000XM5 noise canceling headphones, and they really are new. They're redesigned on both the inside and outside, and while you're probably not gonna like their higher $400 price tag, they have one key upgrade that's pretty killer, so lots to talk about. Let's do it. Now, when you have a product that a lot of people love, it can be a little risky to change things up. This is the 5th generation of the 1000X series headphones. They were first released in 2016 as the MDR-1000X wireless. They've become increasingly popular as they've improved with each generation. Over the years, Sony has made some tweaks to the design, but nothing as dramatic as this. Gone is the dual hinge of previous models, and now there's just a single hinge with a swivel and rocker design. That means these fold flat, but they don't fold up, and they come with a new carrying case that looks to be about 20% bigger than the previous model's case. That's a bit disappointing, but the good news is the Mark V weighs 4 grams less than the Mark IV, tipping the scales at a relatively svelte 250 grams. They're also slightly more comfortable to wear. They fit my head snugly, but manage to avoid having that overly clamped feeling. I happen to have a trip planned to France before I got my hands on a review sample, so I was actually able to test these on a transatlantic flight and basically wore them for 8 hours straight, only taking them off for bathroom breaks. They have the same battery life as the previous model, up to 30 hours with a quick charge feature that gives you 3 hours of juice from a 3-minute charge, but as I said, they seem slightly more comfortable. They also feature new synthetic leather ear pads that seem slightly more durable compared to the pads on the Mark IV. They do seem to breathe slightly better, but as with any over-ear headphones, your ears are gonna steam up pretty good if you wear them around when it's hot outside. There doesn't seem to be any metal in the headband, but the plastic appears to be pretty high-tech, and I spent some time contorting and twisting the headband and nothing snapped. The headphones come in 2 colors, black and silver, though the silver looks more like a sand color. They both have nice matte finishes that don't show fingerprints. Aside from the larger case, I personally prefer the new design to the Mark IV's, but I'm sure there will be people who favor the Mark IV's design. The Mark V's features are very similar to the Mark IV's. From the beginning, the 1000X's signature extra feature was a quick attention mode. If you hold your hand over the right ear cup, it pauses whatever audio you're listening to and lets sound in so you can quickly have a conversation, then go right back to what you're listening to. Also, if you take the headphones off your head, your music will pause and resume when you put them back on. These also have Sony's speak to chat mode that's essentially hands-free quick attention. If someone comes up to you and wants to chat, you can simply say, "Hey, what's up?" and your audio pauses and the headphones go into ambient mode. The audio then resumes after a short period of time, anywhere from 5 seconds to 30 seconds, depending on your preference, or you can manually resume it by touching the ear cup. The touch controls work quite well. You swipe forward across the ear cup to advance tracks forward and swipe back to go to the previous track. Swiping up raises the volume, swiping down lowers it. And these have Bluetooth 5.2 and are powered by Sony's QN1 and V1 chips, giving this headphone dual processors compared to the single processor of the Mark IV. According to Sony, that helps with noise canceling and noise reduction during calls. And these have double the number of microphones for noise canceling, as well as what appears to be additional microphones dedicated to voice calling. Sony won't say how many beamforming microphones the Mark IV has, but this model has 4 of them, so one of the biggest upgrades is to the microphone configuration. The noise canceling was excellent with the Mark IV, and now it's even better with the Mark V. That said, I didn't notice a real difference on my plane ride. Both models seem to do equally well with lower frequencies, but according to Sony, these do better muffling higher frequencies, and I did notice some small differences walking around the streets of New York City. For instance, people's voices seem to be muffled slightly more. I should also note that with the Mark IV, you had to manually engage the noise canceling optimizer feature. With this model, it's automatically engaged, and the adaptive noise canceling does seem slightly smoother and more seamless. You can manually toggle between noise canceling and an ambient mode that lets sound in. Apple calls that mode transparency mode. And while noise canceling levels aren't manually adjustable, you can adjust the amount of ambient sound you want to let in. At the highest ambient sound level, you do get a bit of augmented hearing. I can't get into all the features, but there are EQ settings in the app, and you're probably going to end up playing around with them, especially if you're used to the sound of the Mark IV or Mark III. Aside from their higher price tag, The biggest point of contention with these headphones will be their sound. Sony's equipped the Mark V with new, more rigid 30mm carbon fiber drivers, and these do sound markedly different from the Mark IV. They have more of an audiophile sound profile with slightly more balanced sound, better clarity, and a bit tighter bass. Going back and forth between the Mark IV and Mark V, I noticed that the Mark IV plays a little louder at the same volume level on my phone and is more forward and aggressive sounding. It does have 40mm drivers, and I can see some people preferring its bolder, slightly more exciting sound, especially if you listen to a lot of hip hop and bass heavy tracks. I mostly prefer the more refined sound of the Mark V, but I suspect some reviewers may feel the headphones should offer a bigger perceived jump in sound quality based on their $400 price tag. That's $50 more than what the Mark IV started out at, but you can frequently find that model for around $270 or less. I do expect to see some discounts on this new model in the not so distant future. I do think this is a case of the headphones sounding different, not better or worse. And if you didn't have the Mark IV to compare them to, you would simply say to yourself, they sound very smooth and accurate, the way a good pair of headphones is supposed to sound. Like the Mark IV, these do support Sony's LDEC audio codec that's available for streaming over a number of Android devices and certain dedicated music players. I wirelessly stream music using an iPhone 13 Pro and a couple of Android phones. The Qobuz music service offers high-resolution tracks for streaming on Android devices and computers, and I did notice a slight uptick in sound quality when I went with LDAC or used the headphones in wired mode with the included cable. That said, I felt the difference in sound quality was bigger when I used the AirPods Max in wired mode. The jump was even bigger with those headphones, which do not offer LDAC wireless streaming. I'll finish with what I think is the biggest improvement over the Mark IV, and that's voice call quality. It took them 5 tries, but Sony has finally cracked the code on noise reduction during calls. These are truly impressive when it comes to calling in noisy environments. All right, so the WH-1000X Mark IV had improved call quality, but for some people it wasn't quite good enough. Well, now Sony has said they've made the call quality better with these. They have four beamforming microphones, as well as some software algorithms to reduce background noise. I'm standing here in the streets of New York with a lot of cars going by. I'm talking to another Dave on the other line, having a conversation right now. What do you think, Dave? Is my voice clear, and how much background noise are you hearing?
Yeah, so first off, I'm not hearing any background noise. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought you were in a quiet room, so definitely perks to the headphones there. The headphones slightly could focus on your voice and maybe you'd be a little bit more clear, but in terms of eliminating voices, it's doing an excellent job.
Yeah, right now there's a little bit of wind here, as you can see from the tree in the background. Well, you can't see that tree, but it is quite windy here, so how does my voice sound now?
Yeah, your voice is sounding good. I guess whenever the wind's picking up, there might be a slight shift in the tone of your voice, but I don't hear any wind noise or any background noise for that matter.
All right, so there you have it. That is our test call. Much improved call quality for these Mark Vs. Last but not least, these do have multi-point Bluetooth pairing. That allows you to pair the headphones with 2 devices at the same time and switch back and forth between them. It's an important feature for some people, particularly those of us who like to simultaneously pair with our phones and computers while working from home. And that's really the Sony WH-1000X Mark V in a nutshell. As I said, there's going to be a lot of debate over whether the Mark IV or the Mark V sound better, but the Mark V has some legitimate upgrades and the voice calling experience is stellar. For those of you who already own the Mark IV, that's really the biggest reason to upgrade to the Mark V. For those of you just looking for a new pair of noise canceling headphones, I do think the Mark V keeps Sony right at the top of the category, and if you can afford them, I'd probably take these over Bose's noise canceling 700 headphones, as well as its Quiet Comfort 45 headphones, which are also very good, but I do think the Mark V are slightly better overall now that their voice calling has improved. But let me know what you guys think. How do you feel about the design changes and the higher $50 price tag? And are any of you ready to dump your Mark IVs for the Mark Vs? Sound off in the comment section, and if you're interested in any of the products mentioned, check out the description below for links on where to find them, and you can get even more details in my text review on Cnet. Lastly, if you found this video informative at all, hit the like button and subscribe if you haven't already. I'm David Carden for Cnet. Thanks for watching.